Hey, welcome to my home in Duncan. Today we're going to talk about the rise of civilizations, and we've got to look back first to the Stone Age. The Stone Age is divided into three periods, and we're going to briefly talk about each one. Paleolithic period. Write this down. Paleo is Greek for old. Lithic is Greek for stone. This is what we typically think of the caveman period. However, we have to kind of rethink now, after the discovery of the Chauvet Cave in France in 1994, maybe these people were a little more advanced than we give them credit for. Here's a picture of the Chauvet Cave, and what it is these are very intricate drawings on that cave where they had to burn lamps and create pigments to create this. And it was done for either culturally decorative purposes or for religious purposes. So when we think about Paleolithic, we are thinking about hunters and gatherers. Maybe they were a little more advanced because of what we see with the Chauvet Cave, but scientific belief is these people were hunters and gatherers. They were constantly moving in search of food. The next period is the Mesolithic. Lithic, you already know, is stone, and this is in Greek. Meso is middle. I'm not so much concerned with that. We are concerned with the next period, the Neolithic period. Neo is a word you already know, and it's Greek. You just didn't know it. Neo means new. So new Stone Age, Neolithic period. This is probably where we have one of the most important events in history happening. We have the agricultural revolution. People have learned how to plant seed and grow crops. They've also learned how to domesticate animals. So, unlike their ancestors in the Paleolithic period, these people can stay in one place because they've learned how to cultivate crops. Hugely, hugely important. And this event happens in the Middle East sometimes around 8000 BC. Once people are settled in one place, when farming is done, they're no longer moving around, so villages begin to spring up, and villages are located where the land is fertile and there is a water supply. The oldest known village is Jericho, the biblical city of Jericho. Scientists have dated that city to 8000 BC. So how long ago was 8000 BC? Remember how to calculate time? Jericho was established around 8000 BC. That is over 10,000 years ago. Another of the oldest cities that we know today is Çatalhöyük in Turkey, and that city has been established to be about 7000 BC. So how old is Çatalhöyük in Turkey? If it was established in 7000 BC. 7,000 years before the birth of Christ, and we are in the year 2010 now, so 2010 years after the birth of Christ. Add those together. Over 9,000 years ago. There were several technological advances during the Neolithic era, and some have to do with agriculture, fertilizer. They figured out how to do a plow pulled by oxen to save labor, wheels, looms for weaving, pottery, that sort of thing. But the most important stuff is an early calendar, how to tell the passage of time, and boom, writing began to develop. Now we get into what we call the historical period, because we can tell from their writing what these people were like, a little bit of something about them, what they were like, what they did. The time before writing is called prehistoric, because it's really an hypothesis by the scientists about what the people were like. Nothing was written down. So Neolithic period, you have the agricultural revolution. People stay in one place. Civilizations begin to develop once the villages are established, and you have the technological advances, including writing. Also in the Neolithic period, you're going to have a division of labor between what women do and what men do. And this is going to lead to today, where men have the dominant role in society. It started way back in the Neolithic era because men took care of the crops and they took care of the animals. They fought in the army. This was seen as the more dominant role, the more important role. Women, on the other hand, stayed at the house, cooked the food, made the clothing, took care of the children. So we have the rise to power of men being the most important, and arguably this continues till today. Another thing that was important in the Neolithic era was land ownership. Remember, you got to have a place to grow your crops, a place to keep your animals. So who owned this land became very important. Remember, people aren't moving around anymore. They're not moving in search of food, so they're in one place. Armies are going to be developed to protect this land. Once we have all of this in place, we start to have an emergence of civilization. Now, what is a civilization? This is what we're all about here in Western Civ. A civilization is highly organized society, very complex. A civilization will have government, religion, organized religion, army, people doing different jobs. In your notes, you see civitas is Latin for city. We get the word civilization from that, so make sure you highlight that. And historians are going to say that with the rise of cities, civilization begins. And again, we've got writing. We've got writing at this point, so now we can learn about these people from what they leave behind. Okay, what are some of the characteristics of civilization? Cities, religious structure, organized government, an army to get more land and to protect the land you have, and a social structure based on economic power, just like it is today. Writing, got to have some way in an organized society to keep records, so writing becomes important. And now that people don't have to move around all the time, you have artistic people who can develop their own things, jewelry, whatever, and also the intellectuals. Now there's time because you're not in search of food all the time. The early civilizations that we are going to study will be first Mesopotamia, and second the Nile River Valley, which is Egypt. So Mesopotamia, find a map. Mesopotamia is it's in Iraq today. It starts in Iraq. So if you can find Iraq in the Middle East, you can find Mesopotamia. And the Nile River Valley is in northeast Africa, in where Egypt is today. Okay, so our next section will be on Mesopotamia.